tech snafu there. Welcome, everybody. As I almost forgot to bring us on screen, it's episode 16, Divots and Pivots, here to bring you into the Wells Fargo this week. We're going to help you out figure out who you can bank on. Wells Fargo.
No, you did.
But anyways,
continue.
To continue with the bad pun here, as always, I'm joined by Mr. Bud Copeland here. And real fast, I want to say, I just noticed on our little intro video there, I'm not sure I've ever had my hair sculpted more perfectly than I did in the picture I used on that.
We're gonna update headshots here as soon as management approves the purchase order. We're gonna bring in that intern and have them do some headshots for us.
Putting the light back on. Okay. Yes, but yeah, how are you doing today?
Speaking of interns, you got somebody running the tech over there tonight. I can't bust your chops too hard.
I can't. You know what it is? I can't decide if this light is like washing me out. What happened? So I added a second monitor, or I didn't add. I had it here, but I shifted them around. But now I'm using a monitor over here that for some reason shines brighter on my face. So I just end up more like I have to basically have like a black screen up on this monitor so it doesn't affect my lighting too much. But that's what I've been trying to figure out.
Got like next level stuff. I think I might have a lamp from Bed Bath & Beyond down here.
Nice.
No, but what's going on this week? Listen, before we go any further, and even before I say we go ahead and pause, timeout, flag on the play. First and foremost, good to see you again. Yeah, well, welcome back, and good morning to everyone. I heard on a different show, and yes, there are more than one show. There are more than one show.
There are.
The amount of time you kind of dedicate to each one of these events signifies really their level of importance, both to you personally, really, because that's all that matters, right? Like who gives a shit about anybody else? So, real quick question for you: Mexico Open, how'd it go?
Not good. Not good. I mean, so we were texting each other, and I think what summed it up was that I think multiple times on the show we said there's no way in hell we're playing Brendan Todd. And then all week Brendan Todd is like right there at the top of the leaderboard.
That was the karmic dog coming out to bite me in the proverbial ass, because there I was bagging on the UGA guy, and I think he was like 7 under halfway through Thursday. I texted you. I'm like, I deserve every ounce of crow that is coming my way.
Yeah,
which is why the only thing that I saw, and the only thing I'll comment about, was this was kind of a petty thing, which hey, that's right on brand.
It sure is.
John Rahm had a few inch putt to win.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say there's no such thing as a gimme. See Scott Hoke, Masters, circa 1980 something, late 80s. But at that level, there are gimmies. 2-3 inches. I think at anybody, my 2-year-old could probably knock it in. As long as I helped a little bit. So somebody else pointed out that a lot of times the pros, to be gracious, they'll mark that. The rest of the players will putt out. They'll move off to the side, and that way they can like knock it in, enjoy the moment.
It's the final
and
putt,
instead,
yeah,
right. And instead, Rombo walked up, knocked it in, right? Like just get it in there.
Yeah.
And the person I heard interpret this as that was him exhibiting how much, he says he doesn't pay attention to the noise. He wants to win every week, but how much he really wanted to make sure that he didn't F this up and secure it, because Tony Finau was nipping hard, and he wasn't alone. And I think when you're the only player in the top 20 to go down to a tournament like this, and it could have gone one of two ways. Either he shoots 80 in the first round and nobody faults him for it because everybody just goes, hey, that's going to happen. His head's already probably on the PGA. Let's give him a break, which nobody would be that nice to him. But then when it's in your grasp, it's that thing like, can you close? And sometimes the voices start coming, the footsteps start coming, the birds are chirping a little bit louder. So I think maybe he was a little spooked, and it does matter to him. He's sitting on the throne right now. But I got my ass handed to me as well. I almost went over. Tony Finau was the only pick that kind of saved me, and I wrote him off until Sunday. Thanks for whatever he turned in, 64, 65, 66, whatever.
Yeah, he turned it on.
So that's the Mexico Open.
Yeah, that's the Mexico Open. Yeah, and that's how it went for me too. It was my teams had pretty much either it was very much it wasn't the way I built it, but it ended up being like a stars and scrub lineup because I either had 2 or 3 guys. All basically, if my guys made the cut, they were in the top 10, and then the rest of my team missed the cut, so it did me no good at all. And I didn't have any 6 for 6s, so it was definitely a rough week. But on to Wells
Pivoting.
Fargo.
We're pivoting to North Carolina, but we're not in North Carolina this year. We're in Maryland.
Yeah,
TPC, TPC,
yeah, the Potomac,
Avondale, Maryland.
Mm-hmm. It's a short course, small greens. It's gonna be about accuracy this week. Distance doesn't really matter, and honestly, putting is kind of. So I'm tracking putting because I want them to be able to hit these. I want them to hit these putts with the size of the greens on the first try. But it does get negated a little bit because there's not many putts that are over 20 feet or so. Like you're pretty much in that 5 to 15 foot range, which is pretty much what these guys all practice daily.
So are you saying, boy, get it? So what are you putting more of a premium on? Proximity to the hole, or this, or shall I say efficiency from 15 to 20 feet?
I'm putting it more on the distance to the hole, the proximity
Okay.
there, like that. Yeah.
Because over the course of 72 holes, if you are consistently within that ring, odds are a lot of those are going to drop. So I see what you're saying.
But it's definitely more about getting it on the green this week than anything.
And to get it on the green, this is a kind of course where you have to get it in the fairway. There's going to be, I mean, it's not going to be Super Mario Open. It's not going to be super US Open, like super long rough, but this course does have some thick rough on it. And so put it in the fairway.
It's got a lot of trees too. It's got a lot of trees, and the trees that it does have, it's pretty dense. You're not going to get those. Oh, I happen to land between 4 trees and I have a window I can punch and cut it out of. You want to be in the fairway here.
You have that shot in the bag. Is that what you're saying?
I've done it by accident. I've also wrung it off the tree in front of me 5 times in a row trying to do it. So,
have you ever hit yourself or anybody else in one of those shots and situations?
No, surprisingly.
Have you ever hit anybody else with a golf ball, like hitting it?
Yes, and I've been hit in the forehead. There was I was standing on the green and I'm looking around trying to figure out where one of my buddies are who's playing, and it just so happened to be that coming off the front of the green was a deep bunker that like you couldn't see him standing in it. So I'm literally standing by the flagstick just looking around. I'm like, oh, like where is he? I don't even know where he went. And all of a sudden I turn and I didn't know he was hitting his shot. Just came right out of the bunker and plopped me right off the forehead standing at the flag.
Dude, where was this?
Oh, it was
New England, right?
Oh yeah. I forget the course, but it was up here in New England. Yeah.
Anyway,
it was good time. But I haven't hit anybody with that. I've hit a golf cart. Like my worst shot ever was standing on the tee box. The golf cart was maybe. It wasn't exactly 90 degrees, but it was pretty close directly to my right. And somehow when I swung, the ball just shot directly to my right and rung right off the support holding up the roof of the golf cart with my buddy sitting in the golf cart. I don't know how I did it. Still to this day, I don't know how I physically did it.
I've had a ball land inside the cup holder of a golf cart. I drilled this kid in the hand in middle school. I think we were 13. We were in like 7th grade. Yep. And he put his hand up in front of me about 20 feet away. And he's like, and he put his other hand over his junk. And sure enough, I was like, all right, man. I tried to like punch a 3-iron and drilled him right in the palm.
Yeah.
Nate Dugas. God, don't know where I pulled that name from.
Well, you know those little practice like plastic golf balls or like the mini wiffle balls or whatever?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Like some of my earliest childhood memories.
Yeah, so like way back when I was younger, my uncle brought me out to like a baseball field or a big field. He was like, "Okay, go out there with your baseball mitt. I'm gonna hit some of these, and you just go fetch them for me." Well, he sculled one and ripped a liner right at me, and of course I try to go catch it, miss it because I'm like 6 at the time, and it catches me right off the shin. Just leaves a nice big, what looked like a mini soccer ball welt on my shin because I couldn't catch the damn mini plastic golf ball.
Oh, dude, I know what you're talking about. I used to play baseball and have like those seams. But anyway, yeah, back to TPC. Potomac.
I'm gonna be all right. Don't worry.
You think so? Are you sure?
Yeah, this cough just will not go away. It's driving me nuts. But yes, TPC Potomac.
Do you have the long COVID?
I have the lifetime allergies. No, because I wasn't coughing this much when I had COVID. Like the COVID was easier than my allergies are. That's life with me.
There's a hot take.
It's been some high pollen counts up here around us, so that's been killing me.
There's also only 2 par 5s on this course, and that bothers me. I really think it should be a rule. Brooks Koepka was on a podcast saying that maybe we should only have 12, 13, 14 holes in a round. I don't know, man.
I know. I've heard that recently too.
It gets so bored. Shut up. I mean, that'd be like
don't play. I'll take your place. I'll gladly play 18 every friggin' weekend.
Well, I mean, it's like, again, a marathon runner being like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I run them faster, but I just wish they were shorter.
Yeah. That's not the sport you're playing.
Right. So, I mean, I just kind of black out from holes, 7 through 12. And then I went, shut up, Spicoli.
Explain some of your performances, but
whatever, Mr. Exactly. Whatever. Mr. Hand. No, but this is fun. I always like golf in this area. I'm from the area. I was born right outside of Washington, D.C. Didn't spend a ton of time there as a child, but have gone back throughout my life so much that my godmother lived right outside of D.C. for a while too. So we'd go visit her all the time. So a little partial to this part of the country. I'm going to go ahead and plant my flag there for the week. And I'm going to be rooting for the course because I just don't want to see another 20 under win. I'd like to see a little bit of a competition. Yeah. I don't want to see people looking ahead too much to Southern Hills, although Tiger was out there.
Well, I texted you it. And then everyone's mad because he was getting insider tips from the head pro there. You see that? I forget his name. There was a golfer on Twitter was saying like, "Oh, it must be nice to be able." Does everybody get Does everybody get the same opportunity and options to go talk to this guy to have him walk up the course and to show him everything? Like, I'm sure if you asked him, sure, I'm sure you could make it happen.
That's the other thing too. Is did you ask? Did you call up and think to yourself, "Hey, I'm playing in this big ass tournament. Maybe maybe they'll let me come and just walk the course or play." You got a point that 99% of the time. Or did you talk to your manager? Hey, did any of my sponsors, are they members here? I'm not going to say that, I'm an expert because I'm not, but I would imagine there are more than one way to skin a cat.
Yes.
See what I did there with the big cat?
I do.
But to answer the guy's question, whoever it was, oh, must be nice. Yeah, it is nice. He's won 82 fucking times and 15 majors. So it reminds me of the old Bobby Bowden quote back in quotation. Actually, my Latin teacher would be going nuts right now. He used to use the old thing. It's a quotation, not a quote. You wouldn't call your country a.
Oh yeah, we've heard that one quite a few times.
Oh, have you now, you dirty mouth? Shit, where was I going with this?
A quotation.
Oh, you threw me off. Yeah. So Bobby Bowden back in the 2001 national title game. I think it was 2001. They were in New Orleans for it. Sebastian Janikowski was the kicker, the Polish powder keg. I was living in Tallahassee at the time. Both my sisters went to Florida State. We used to go to the games all the time. But I remember the interview. A bunch of them went out New Year's Eve and they broke curfew.
Yep.
And so Bobby Bowden at the next press conference, he's talking about it, and they had put out a little release or whatever saying these players are going to be suspended for the game because of whatever, or the first half. And one of the reporters raised their hand. They're like, we noticed that Sebastian Janikowski was one of the players that was out, but he's not on the list of suspended players. It seems to me like you're giving preferential treatment to some of your better players. And the reporter kind of paused, and Bobby Bowden's like, yeah. It would seem like that, wouldn't it?
And that's it right there. It's all
what do you want from me? I don't know what to do with my hands. Like it just and the key there is sometimes honesty is the best policy. Like, you got yes, you got me. It's good. Andrew, are we gonna have to go to the bullpen? Am I gonna have to start? Are we gonna turn this into a Headspace podcast where I just start telling old stories?
I mean, we could have, that maybe that's how we fill those Mexico Open weeks. It's just story time with Bud.
We should be selective with some of our weeks and maybe pivot to a more unique betting format, or look for some obscure tournament and say, like, you know what, we're
Yeah.
going to go all in on the Bienvenido challenge down in Punta Cana.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, do something like that, or maybe tag every 1 week. We say, hey, let's both learn how to, some strategies to do snake draft golf on DraftKings instead of classic or tiers.
The
Yes, there's
last thing,
snake draft options.
last thing, I know, I saw that. I was actually a little intrigued.
I'm
One of
actually
the
gonna
last
try it
things.
this week. I've done it before in the past, but it's been a little while. But I am gonna give it a whirl this week.
All
But
right,
I'm not gonna give any advice on it right here on the show because I gotta look at it still for snakes.
What do you mean? I give advice on this show all the time about shit I know nothing about.
Don't say that out loud, man.
Well, it's not advice. It's not advice. It's my opinion. It's my
It's your
educated.
opinion,
It's my
exactly.
educated opinion. I do my research. I do my thought. I know I come
Yes.
across a little Spicoli-ish.
That's all any of us do.
Before we dig into the 10K and above, which before we dig into it, I almost did it. I got a question for you, and it's a little off the wall, but every week we're gonna take 30 seconds and we're gonna get to know each other and our listeners a little bit more. So what is? All right, let me look at this real quick. Here we go. It's a very simple one, easy one, kind of relatable, especially for folks like us that grew up relatively in the internet age. Although I still remember doing like book reports with like physical books that you checked out at the library and stuff. What was your first email address or screen name?
Oh, geez.
And was there any kind of significance or explanation behind it?
I kept changing my screen name I had so many. I'm trying to think back to them now. So my first email address was leduck89. And so my last name is Leduc, but I added a K in it, and the story behind that is because on Travel League Baseball, they spelt my name wrong on the back of my jersey and added. So not only did they add the K, but all the letters are capitalized, but for some reason they also shrunk the capital E to be the size of a lowercase e, but still be a capital E. So it looked like it literally said L-E Duck, and that became my nickname that year for baseball. So every time I'd get up to the plate, they just start chanting L-E Duck, and so I made that my first email address. And I honestly can't remember I had so many screen names, I can't remember any of them though. But that's my email address, my old email address.
I got oh man, this is where I wish we had a time machine. Go back and find the person who did that shirt and be like, were they trying to be slick? Did they see your last name and think like, oh man, it's French for the duck, so we're gonna do like a French le duc. It's the duck. That's pretty fucking funny.
Nope, it was just cheap. They get it done.
Listen, little like late 80s, 90s Little League baseball travel ball jerseys, especially sometimes you get on those last minute all-star teams or last minute travel team, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna be awesome and we're gonna customize the jerseys, and it's like electrical tape on the back. Somebody's dad spent all weekend just putting it together, and then they like ironed it just to make sure that it all kind of like melted together.
Exactly.
That's funny as shit. Mine was My Call 99, and mine actually had a baseball reference too. My Call, MYCALL, was because my given name is Michael, and I think my mom made my first email address. She added me to the AOL account, and when she did Michael, of course, there was already Michael taken, and then there was so she did the punny thing and did My Call. I think I used this email address until I was like 20.
I just stopped using the one I said like maybe 3 years ago. I'm 32.
Right.
So.
Right. I mean, it's tough. And then the 99 was a baseball reference. That was my baseball number after Rick Wild Thing Vaughn. That was a movie. Major League was 87, 80, 89, somewhere in there. And one of my little league teams was the Indians, and it wasn't even little league. It was kid pitch. It was like the first year kid pitch before little league, but it was the Indians. And my dad, thinking he was being sweet, like we went to Blockbuster. He's like, oh, here's this baseball movie with the Indians on the front. And he liked Charlie Sheen. He'd seen all, and he thought maybe it was like kind of how like a Mighty Ducks type movie.
Yeah,
he thought it was maybe his Angels in the Outfield. Yeah, no, it was definitely not that.
Great movie though. Fantastic.
Yeah, we followed that with Deliverance. Thanks, Pops.
Ooh. That's what everyone said whenever I went to because that was the one in West Virginia, right?
The setting was West Virginia, but it was actually filmed in parts of Tennessee and North Carolina on what's called the Chattooga River.
Yep.
And I've actually done that section of the river, whitewater rafted down the Five Falls section where they filmed it.
Okay. Yeah, that's all anyone ever said to me when I said told people I was going to school in West Virginia. There's Deliverance. Like I was like, it's a big state.
Well, watch out for banjos. And what they don't understand was the banjo was a warning sign. It was the slow child, I guess you would call them back then, trying to signal to the boys like, hey, you got more porkies up here. All right, before this turns into an incredibly
we're 20 minutes in and all we've talked about is movies, baseball, and
it's Belly Up Sports. It's Belly Up Sports. Thisentire network is movies and baseball.
I know, it's very
some true. Amalgamation of it. I love it.
Very true. Right. Don't make me laugh too much, my man. You're gonna kill me today.
I am. I'm gonna start doing 5 minutes of stand up on. Oh, you know what you look like? You look like the Kool-Aid guy, except his cousin, who is the orange flavored. You're his orange flavored cousin in that shirt. And I don't know why I'm bagging on the shirt, other than I'm wearing a hat that says staff.
It's a nice shirt.
Did I wear this one last week? The Jack Nicklaus shirt that I got from Costco?
Actually, I think you did, yeah.
Or BJ's. I know it might become my show shirt. Maybe I won't wash it.
Or you wore it for the Masters. I can't remember. No, because you got it after the Masters. Yeah.
I got it after. Listen, I was decked out in my Georgia gear for the Masters. I remember that. I'm a big gearhead. Maybe I won't wash this shirt until we get to 1,000 followers.
Okay. Which, if you follow at Real Mr. Mallet, I just hit that last night. So thank you to all of you who follow. Keep it coming. Would love the appreciation. But anyways, let's jump into this because we don't want to run out of time. So
let's go ahead real quick. If you haven't heard it, we are back in Maryland, TPC, Potomac, Avenel Farm. I say back. I'm pretty sure it's the one time that it's been here. It's the first time. It's usually in Quail Hollow in Charlotte.
So it's typically always whenever Quail Hollow is holding another tournament in the season, like they are later this year with the President's Cup. So it was back in 2017 and 2018.
17, they were in Eagle Point in Wilmington. And
this year that one was at Eagle Point though, but 2018 I believe was here.
Yeah, no, it's just look. See, that's why I have to. Is this a Donald Ross design? No, I can't. Normally, I'm a chalky guy, and I like a lot of Rory at this event normally, but it being at a different site, I'm kind of going to go with the conventional wisdom of like what you've been pointing out, what we've been alluding to, which is get the ball in play, get it close to the hole, and then it's not going to be so much of a putting contest because there's going to be a little, there's a little more skill to it with those tight greens. It's another shot at John Rahm, who was bitching earlier this year about a tournament. Then putt better than everybody that week. I just get I have
bitching in sports pisses me off.
Yeah, it's
in any sport just. Let's look. You're getting to do your dream. Let's not like if you want to bitch about the money you're making or like the way you're treated by your organization. Like I get that. That's like anybody else who's working a job. Like I get that, but I don't see why you bitch about the sport you're playing.
I love it. People are at work right now probably, and now we're just getting them all. He's right.
But to bitch about like the rule or the or just like the little
guy a couple
intricacies of like the unwritten rules or whatever. Like let's just
there's a guy a couple weeks ago who was all I almost said butthurt, but butthurt seems to be a little bit of an immature term, so we're gonna say bent out of shape instead of
there
butthurt.
We go. Yeah,
he was all bent out of shape about how the groundskeepers had tagged some hazard lines. Now that might be what you were alluding to.
Yeah,
and I want to just be like, all right, let me get this straight. Your ball rolled in the water. And you're upset about how the line was drawn around the water.
That line don't matter anymore. The water is the line.
Your ball, yeah. I'm the captain now. All right, so 10K and above. I'm gonna fade Rory this week.
Yes.
Mostly just
expensive.
Yeah, I'm not going top tier. Unknown course is first time at the course is really the kind of I'd say neutralizing factor here. I almost put it in the same category as last week where it's a kind of an off event. You can't use too much of any recent history of whatever, other than maybe recent form. If you are playing well, I think you're going to play well, which is why up in that 10K and above range, Tony Finau is who I really like after how he finished last week. But if you want to follow the recipe of what we've been talking about, ball striker, accurate, consistent, repeatable, and then if you give them enough opportunities, they're going to convert. It's somebody who I've been bagging on all year. But after my humble pie with Brandon Todd last week, I'd hang my hat on Corey Connors up there at 10-1. It is pricey, and anytime somebody like a Corey Connors, who's not a top 10 in the world, is in that one of those top 5 spots, but it fits the mold for who's going to be successful, and he's been successful this year.
It just feels like the type of tournament that, I don't know, it's one of those just kind of explainable feelings. It just feels like this was the one he could win. Almost like it feels like Corey Connors might be the type of golfer he comes out and he wins the tournament before like the major, or like a week or two before the major, like shoots his shot and then can't do it at the major. But I agree that he's the one knock I get him this week is that he's unbelievably chalky, like 22%, something like that.
Is he really? What's my boy Fina?
Like 11-12%.
And see, that would be the diff. See, I muted my 4 or 5 sneezes. And I was actually about to ask you. You said the phrase.
I couldn't get to the mute button in time for my cough.
You said the phrase "shoot your shot." I was going to ask you about the text and say you shot your shot. How'd that go? But we can talk about that offline.
Yeah, I didn't. So we'll just skip right past that.
Attaboy. I've got Corey Connors honestly as like I said, that's the identified, pick, and obviously that's the chalky pick right there. But I would say Tony Finau would be my go for that extra $500. The way he's playing,
sure.
He might break through.
Yeah, those are really the only two that I would consider playing up there. And like I said, if you're gonna play Connors, you gotta with the rest of your picks kind of factor in some ownership bargains in your GPP large contest pools. But luckily,
speaking of bargains,
we have those for you this week because the model spit out half of the top 10 is priced under 8,000 this week. And leading off the top of that board is Mr. Brian Harman at $7,700. And yes, I know I'm skipping over the night. We usually go in order of the range,
I'm here for it.
I want to make sure we hit on some guys here since there's a chance we could run out of time come the end of this show. So
never.
So Brian Harman, which is a scary name to have at the top of your rankings for the week, but once again fits the mold and has been playing fairly well this year, actually.
You know who does well here this week is Phil Dunphy. Kind of the average, everyday, go-to, reliable, consistent. Not to say that any of these guys can't get hot and listen.
Well, like you've said before, they're professional golfers, so they have any of them have the ability to turn it on and get hot and hit a streak.
Quick aside, we'll go back to your Brian Harman love fest. Alan Iverson,
I wouldn't call it a love fest. It's a scary love fest. I have someone else I'd rather play more.
Ooh, is it a like fest? Alan Iverson was on a podcast earlier this week, and he was doing an interview, and they were asking him about some of the super teams over the years, and really he was around during that kind of early era of the first one with the Celtics, the big three there, and he said, yeah, I got approached about that kind of stuff. People would hit me up. People would talk to my agent. He goes, it never dawned on me to go and kind of play with these guys. Not because I didn't like them or didn't respect them. Obviously he played international ball with some of them and whatnot, but his theory was this, and it goes back to what you just said. He's like, my thought was I'm good enough that give me any 4 professionals.
Yep.
And we can take any other 5.
And we have a chance.
Right. And honestly, when you're talking about 144 guys, sure, we focus on the top 10, 20 of them, because that's where we're told to focus through advertising dollars and everything else. And also because we like winners, as a society, that's where your attention goes to. But, you go back to the macro of it all. And when you talk about the size of how many people play golf and, there are hundreds and hundreds of professionals who really could on any given week get hot enough to win. It's just, and maybe that's what Greg Norman and these guys are saying about this other golf league, which is there are way too many good golfers out here to have it just be this rat race for this pool of money.
Yeah.
It's a big pool of money, and the ladies are certainly not getting, that's a whole different story. And if you didn't catch Lydia Ko, Google it. It was hilarious this week. The interviewer asked her if she was getting a little discomfort out there, and it looked like her back might have been tight. And is she questioning, maybe, I hope this isn't going to be inconvenient for her and her trainer that she's been working with? And Lydia Ko's like, nope, just that time of the month. And the interviewer's like,
oh,
okay. And he goes, and she's like, I know you're at a loss for words. She's like, my women at home get me. They know what I'm going through. But yeah, when it's that time, she's like, that happens. My back gets tight and everything gets twisted up. And it's sometimes, the shots are tough to pull off. And the interviewer's a dude's like,
and
okay.
Probably just walked away.
Right. Just like we were going to walk away from this storyline. So anybody can win this week, which is probably why Brian Harman, I mean, it is a money ball kind of week. Mm-hmm. I'd play him at 7,700 because also tell me some more. Tell me some more about those 7K guys that you have in your model.
Yeah, no. So I'm not saying I wouldn't play him. I definitely like him this week for sure with how he shapes up. Number 2 in my rankings though is another guy that I like for just a little bit more at 7,400, and that's Adam Long.
Yeah.
And Adam Long I'm gonna pull up his recent results really fast.
While you're doing that, I mean, he's fairways gained 1, fairways gained 4 on par 4s 4. I mean, yeah. So
Long has gained 17 total strokes in his last four tournaments. He finished 15th at the Mexico Open last week, and then 12th at the Heritage, and 35th at the Valero. He didn't play in the Masters, but that's a guy right there who's also coming in at under 10% projected ownership. That feels like a potential home run on as far as hitting your value there. So I really like Adam Long this week, and if you're gonna play Corey Connors, Adam Long just feels like a guy that you're gonna have to have in your lineup for both ownership, upside value, and price.
There's a guy right near him, and I didn't look at any of his other, but I think he's from India. The Anirban Lahiri. I mean, he's not Thigala, who I really want Thigala to break through soon.
I know you like that so kid.
But no, Lahiri. It also reminds me of Mindy Lahiri from. Did you ever watch that show? My wife was obsessed with it. The Mindy something show.
Oh yeah, I've never watched it. No.
Where does Lahiri's strokes gain total 10 plus 10 in the last few events? I mean, it's not bad. He's playing good.
So Lahiri ranks out 41st in the model.
That's good enough for me to mix in there. What's his?
So let's see. Some of his better stats in the model are putting. He ranks top 20 in putting. In the field, he ranks 18, top 20 in par 4s from 450 to 500 yards, and then top 20 on par 4 strokes gained in general and strokes gained off the tee. His biggest knocks, however, are strokes gained approach. He's outside the top 100. Fairways gained, he's outside the top 100. And strokes gained off the... Which one is this? Strokes gained off the tee on correlating courses, he is at like 97. So he's right at like that 100 mark.
And I think that his recent form trumps that. And then the tiebreaker for me is his 5% calculated projected ownership. So
he's definitely in good form.
That's it. You're right. Because I mean, if you're splitting hairs, because right there, right above him is somebody who I've been big on as well recently, which is David Lipsky.
I know you have.
You knew
becoming your boy.
him and Rye. I like them both. I loved that team at Zurich. I think I'm going to fanboy pretty hard on the whole Zurich Open, especially because I'm a big fan of walk-up music.
Lipsky's very similar to Lahiri. He's better. He's a better approacher, better at strokes gained approach and fairways gained. He doesn't have any correlating course stats, so he's got a little bit less stats to go off of. But so I want to be clear when I'm listing off these stats, I don't just follow the numbers and tell you I play this guy because these numbers line up. If you saw, I only have in my top 10 ranked. I don't just blindly and tell you guys everybody that's in my top 10. I can tell you right now, in my top 10 this week, I am not liking Paul Casey, Abraham Answer, and Ryan Armour because I'm looking at other factors outside of these numbers that are recent form, that are course history.
Are you referring to strokes gained home life?
Yeah, exactly. When you use the numbers, then you pair that with all the other knowledge you have about golf, and then you pick. You don't let the computer pick your favorite. You pick your favorites based off of all the information you have. So
You're in
that's what I
charge.
do.
No, and I agree. And the thing with Paul Casey is he was, you know me, I love me some Popeye, especially with those big old forearms. He's a great ball striker and an accurate iron player, which is what you need here. And he's kind of due for, I think he's due for some success. I do like that kind of off course juju, but he's been hurt recently. Last time I picked
Yeah,
him, he bailed. So
yeah. I need to see him on the
he's
course
he,
for a tournament before I can confidently play him. And maybe this is that week where he comes out and does do great, and he's back, and maybe the injuries heal. But in order for me to take the chance on him, I gotta see it first.
you know where he is. He's back. He's in the waiting room with Xander for me. Xander
Yep.
came from outside to the mud room, but he has to stay in the mud room until he wins on his own. Patrick Cantlay was walking in the house. He brought in Xander and said, "Xander, you can wait here until you can win on your own." Um, I'm shitting on the gold medal winner.
I love it though.
No, but I'm making the analogy
Yeah.
of somebody who I really like, who's really good, who's been there before, and is not necessarily. He's not in Jordan Spieth territory. He's not like
Yeah.
whoa. Uh, and Jordan's not even in Jordan Spieth territory. He's won like 2 or 3 times since
Yeah.
his funk or whatever. But you get the analogy.
I do. I know where you're going.
Back to you in the studio.
Speaking of guys that we don't necessarily say their names a bunch, though, Mr. Keegan Bradley makes a return to the top 5 in the rankings this week. And look, I was telling Bud before, I've said it before on the show. Keegan Bradley doesn't typically pop in most models for most courses, but he's really good at the courses that he's good at, and he's not so great at every other course. This just seems to be one of those places that is set up perfectly for him. Really, the only thing holding him back from being ranked first this week in this model is the fact that he's ranked 85th in strokes gained putting, which we've already said I'm weighting that as like one of my lower stats. So if it weren't for that, he should be pretty good this week. Now he is 9,600, which seems like a lot to pay for Keegan Bradley and what he typically brings to the table. But he did recently finish 8th at the Valero. We haven't seen him on PGA Tour since then. He didn't make the Masters. But Keegan Bradley might be a little fire under him with not being in the Masters as a preview. There might be something there for him.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do one of those things where I qualify the shitty thing I'm gonna say about somebody with the fact that I agree with you. I do think that he is there and he's ready to break through again and come back. And you mentioned the Valero, and no, he wasn't at the Masters, but he was almost at the Masters because he almost won the Players a couple weeks before that.
Yeah.
He had that gut wrenching. He had the most relatable finishes that I think I've ever seen in my life. Yep. Dude, all I gotta do is par, and I got my personal best, or not even that. Yeah. I think he could have bogeyed and he would have made a playoff or whatever. So I mean, you're in the trees, just punch out, take your medicine. You're right, man. Yeah. Right through punch out. Anyway, I felt bad from there because I do like me some Keegan, but here's where the part where I start talking nasty. How the hell does that swing is awful. Like Bryson's swing, I understand. It's on plane. It's the whole fundamental. It's Mo Norman. If you've never heard of Mo Norman, go Google it, kids. Mo Norman might have been the most pure ball striker ever. And that's going like Tiger said it. Jack said it. These guys don't hold a candle to what Mo Norman used to be able to do with the golf club. Mm-hmm. I get it. I don't get it's almost like he watched Matt Kuchar and said, hold my beer. I can do worse.
Well, so, what's crazy about the way he swings, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe I'm picturing the swing correctly here. He breaks like
hold on, are you cringing? Then yeah.
Well, he breaks like the very first fundamental rule with the very first movement he makes in his swing. Because doesn't he start by shifting his head? Like, doesn't he start by tilting his head back? Like, that's how he starts to swing, right?
You know who else used to do that?
Who?
Jack. Jack.
Yeah, I never picked up on that.
If you watch Jack always did 2 things. He would always forward press his hands just a little bit.
Yep.
And he would always just ever so slightly. I mean, and it's the most
slightly though. Doesn't Keegan give it almost like a full 45-degree tilt when he maybe I'm picturing it wrong, but
No, it could be almost a Matty Wolf kind of tick thing that he throws in there, but he's so flat and it's so ugly. But at the end of the day, he's a major golf champion and he gets the ball in the hole, and that's the name of the game.
Yes.
But
Everyone swings differently.
For aesthetic reasons, I am going to fade hard on some Keegan Bradley, especially in the 9,000 range. Like you said, I just think there's going to be a ton of value down here.
It is a lot for him, and he is coming in at like 15% ownership right there as well. So that's actually between the price and the ownership, that actually might be turning. I might be talking myself into a fade there, even though I think he will do good. If I'm going to be playing Corey Connors in my line, I don't want to be spending that ownership value on Keegan Bradley as well.
All right, good, because we meet in the middle there. Because I was about to say, for those of you keeping score at home, truth gun to my head, I'm playing Tony Finau out of that top tier, and truth gun to his head, he's playing Connie Connors. You know what? If I play Corey Connors and he F's me, he's Connie Connors until he wins again. No, for those of you keeping score at home, we got Tony and Corey coming out of the top tier. Let's go real quick through 9K then, because I just realized these are thin 8 and 9.
Yeah, there's not many players in the 8 and 9 combined. I think there's maybe 20 total.
Which I think is why this week it's so important to go down into those, like you say, those 7K range and find the leverage plays.
There's only like 14.
Right. I mean, and so let's go real quick. Keegan Bradley might be, he obviously is maybe kind of, I would say, your leader in the clubhouse from the 9K range. I don't see anybody there in the 9K.
So how do you feel about Mark Leishman?
I love Mark Leishman. He's great. He plays great in the wind.
How do you feel about him this week? Maybe I should clarify.
I don't know why I'm trying to save my money or anything, but I just don't know. How's he been doing lately?
He's only played the Masters recently. He hasn't, unless he's been playing tournaments overseas that I'm forgetting to factor in. He's only played one out of the last 6 tournaments in the tour, and it was the Masters. And he finished well. He was, I think, top 30 or 35th or something like that.
The only gut play I'd play out of the 9K range would be Gary Woodland.
I almost started him, and I decided not to.
And I think he's another one that is coming out of quasi Spieth territory. It hasn't been that long ago since he won the U.S. Open, but he did just kind of go, what the heck? And then he lost a bunch of weight. I think he did a bunch of physical adjustments to himself that then had to kind of one of those things when you lose that much weight or when you put on that much weight, it affects your entire swing, all your physiology. Sure. So now he's getting back to it. And top 25 last week. He missed the cut at the Masters, but it's the Masters. I mean, shit, I don't ever really factor that in too much. T10 at Valero, top 20 at Valspar. He was nipping earlier this year. So I think, again, truth gun to my head, you could get me to play Gary Woodland out of the 9K range. But this week would definitely be kind of my week that I would be taking Tony Finau up top or Corey Connors. I mean, if I'm playing multiple lineups, I'm probably going to mess around with both those dudes.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I could definitely see that.
But are we in agreement that Seamus Power's name's been thrown out there multiple times? I've seen that a lot of places. Yeah. I don't know how he ranks on your model.
Seamus Power, he comes in ranked 39th in the model. He's either really good in the rankings or really bad. He's got 3 where he ranks outside the top 100 in the field. A couple middlers around the 30, 40, 50 range, and then a couple top 10s and top 20s. It looks like most of his good. So pretty much all of his good stats are all the strokes gained par 4 and stroke gained par 4, 450 to 500, both on correlating courses and on the season in general. So that's really where the bulk of his good rankings are coming from. So I'm not really. He doesn't jazz me up this week. That's what I should say.
Well, since we're in the 8K range, because I agree. How long? Why has it taken us 44 minutes to mention Cameron Young's name?
He's, I believe, we said he was he's gonna be chalky, 16%. But
that's why.
But that was the main reason why. Because other than that, he's ranked 14th in my model, and I like him now. He doesn't have.
See, I kind of like him to win.
He doesn't have any correlating course stats, but for everything else, though, he's first in strokes gained off the tee, second in strokes gained par 4, second in strokes gained par 4, 450 to 500. And then he's 30th, 31st, and 43rd in your approach and fairways gained categories in putting.
High enough to throw in a couple of lineups.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely like him to do good this week.
And I'm going to skip right over my other. Again, I don't have anything personal against Matt Kuchar. Again, my sister's friends with his sister. I've never met him or anything. It's the swing that bothers me. The flat swing really bothers me.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip right over him though and go to my boy Aaron Rye Aaron Rye.
Before we go too far down to Aaron Rye, I do want to touch on one more person in the 8Ks because then we're going to get into the juicy 7Ks. But I feel like Sergio Garcia needs to be mentioned this weekend at 8,700 in the 8K range. Ranking 10th. What am I in the ranking 10th?
You've been talking to me way too long already.
Ranking 10th now. So he only had the one thing that makes me hesitant about him is he's only played the Masters recently, at least on tour. And he finished 23rd there, which is pretty good. He's going to be coming in under 10% owned, but he feels like the type of savvy pro that could come into this field and this tournament and treat it as a legitimate warm-up for the PGA Championship. Like this is like a true primer for him, and he goes out there and tries out everything he wants to hone in before and does well. His strokes gain approach has fallen off a bit, and his fairways gain isn't great, but everything else is top 50, top 20. He's got a couple top 10s in there. So I kind of like taking a couple shots on Sergio this week.
I'd like to take a couple shots at him as well because he's another one of those people that I actually have a weird random personal connection to. My brother-in-law used to, first of all, passing on Sergio mostly out of personal spite, but I endorse your selection or at least awareness of how well he can do, because when you mentioned it, he top 25 of the Masters. We haven't seen him do anything else. He's at that point in his career where it's kind of like I saw the top 10 years ago had Steve Stricker in it. I'm like, Steve Stricker was a world top 10 years ago. Like that kind of made me be like, really?
Weird
Old man Strick? Cap? Yeah. Well, these guys get to that age where they are so damn good and they have won so many times that it is almost muscle memory at this level, where it's like, yeah, for Sergio, he was winning tournaments when some of these guys were still in diapers. So it's like, I mean, he's not that old, but I mean, he was playing El Nino when he was like 17. So, but my brother-in-law says he's just a jerk. My brother-in-law was the director of operations for College of Charleston Athletics for a long time. And Sergio used to date, his girlfriend was on the golf team there, and women's golf team. I want to clarify real quick.
Sure.
And so he said Sergio would come visit, and he was kind of a jerk. That's all. I mean, my brother-in-law is way too gracious of a gentleman to go into details. He's from Highlands, North Carolina, and if you think I've got an accent, then meet people from Highlands, North Carolina. But he's a really nice guy, but he just would be like, I don't care for Sergio. So you got it. So shouts to Josh.
Well, that was all I had on Sergio. So if you want to grace us with Aaron Rye now, because we are coming down to like the last 10 minutes of the show here, so we got to make sure we hit the 7K range and give out our favorites.
Do you need me to do 10 minutes on Aaron Rye? No, Aaron Rye is short and sweet and simple. Guy's been playing out of his mind, and obviously played well in the team event. I just think that and the week before he played well as too. I think what was his recent where are you, Mr. Rye?
He finished his 24th at Mexico, 29th at Valero.
Yeah, so I mean he's been making cuts, he's been getting up there, and you get that close to winning like he did at a team event, and who knows, maybe you think if it was that damn David Lipsky. So I like Aaron Rye. I do like his boy David Lipsky for the same reason. But 7K is huge. So walk us through your big board.
So Kevin Streelman's popping again. He popped earlier in the year for us. I do want to double check his ownership though. He's coming in around 10% ownership, so it's pretty good ownership there as well. And his recent form, the thing about him is he might be starting a skid here. He missed the cut at the Heritage. He finished 67th last week, so he just barely made it in at Mexico. Before that, he finished 18th at the Valero and 7th at the Valspar, but he didn't play the Masters, and since the Masters, his last two tournaments has been pretty uneventful, but he does pop in the model. But and at 10% ownership, it might be tempting. So that can be the first place I go. Honestly, I'm gonna jump down to the bottom because I think my favorite, and this might shock you, my favorite.
Don't say Doc Redman.
No, but right below him, Nate Lashley. I like me some Nate Lashley this week. Lashley is
I can get
coming in
behind Nate
projected
Lashley.
6% ownership. I don't think I've even realized how well he's been playing this year until just now. He finished 11th at the Mexico last week. He did miss the cut at the Heritage, but before the Masters, which he didn't play in, he finished 18th at the Valero, 15th at Punta Cana, and 27th at Valspar.
And I'll tell you what, I like Nate Lashley. I like what you're doing here because his 2 weak spots are strokes gained putting and strokes gained off the tee. Now,
Yep.
Bud, didn't you say you have to be accurate off the tee? Yes, I did. However, this is it's going to be binary. If he's accurate this week, he's good enough. Actually, he's really good in those other areas that it makes up for the putting. And it's also putting's another one of those weird fucking things that can come and go, can snap into a week. And he's not so dog awful. Again, they are pros. He's not so dog awful in the putting. I mean, 93rd's not great.
And he ranks really well in strokes gained par fours and 450 and 500 specifically. So,
yeah,
for $7,000, I really like me some Nate Lashley.
I do too. I'm going to take Doc Redman just so you can have Nate Lashley. And again, I'm going to use we should do a head-to-head on those two. And we can go.
Yeah, the same price, same.
We could go double or nothing. I could get you back to zero, or that sixer of kings turns into 12s.
Let's do
it for when we meet up at the U.S. Open later on this summer.
So Redman and Lashley
at the U.S. Open
snuck it in there. We'll talk about that a little bit. Maybe next week we'll have some answers for you all, but we'll be doing something. We'll be doing something. But yeah, Redman and because I like that. We can do that. Are we doing DraftKings or finishing?
DK points or finishing?
Yeah. How do you want to declare the winner for us?
What would be the appropriate head-to-head determine? Like I don't know I almost think that DK points would be the natural because that's the whole point of playing DraftKings.
Yep.
And I almost think it'd be like the Electoral College where if you finish above somebody, I think it would line up.
It should. It should. Yeah. Most of the times it will.
The logic there seems to reason. So I'll say DK points.
Okay. DK we'll do that. We'll do that. And then I think the only lower price guy that I'd be willing to even mention is Tyler Duncan, 6,900.
Why? I've never even heard of him. You're making
so he's definitely here's what Tyler Duncan does for you. He's either gonna make the cut and finish top 25, or he's gonna miss the cut. But it is mathematically possible if you play Tyler Duncan, and given the value that is in the 7K range, you can play Corey Connors and Tony Finau in the same lineup. If you're willing to take a shot on a guy that if he makes the cut, he's probably going to finish way above his value dictates. And the line that I put together right now, I can play both Corey Connors and Tony Finau in a lineup. And Duncan's the only guy I have that's under 7K right now. I have one spot left. I'm still left with $8,000. So I can have my picking in the 7K range.
So we're talking about it. Here's maybe here's the key then. It is such a it's so fat in the middle that you really can't you go studs and duds and you try to find like the uber value.
The mathematical odds are telling us that there's a higher chance that the winner is going to come from that 7K range just because of the amount of people that are in the 7K range.
Mathematical odds. Strokes gained home life. No, I'm just kidding. All right, we got a few minutes left here.
We got a few minutes left. So who do you have left in the 7K range though that you want to make sure we touch on?
Marty Laird was the only other person, and I think just because I have a soft spot for Marty Laird.
I got him too, so that's perfect. Tell me. Do
you really?
I do, yeah. So tell me why on Laird.
Honestly, looking down there, he's just a name down there in the bottom that jumps out at me when I want to mess around with the lineup that is top heavy with a couple of double digit top tier players up top. Familiar names. I get down there and I can't get too in the weeds. I have to start going off of a little bit of that gut, mostly because I'm not smart enough to know what factors would be difference makers at that level. So I go with either familiar names or people who have been playing well. Martin Laird is a name that just kind of floats around up top, and I've heard it a few times this year. So why not give him a shot? That, and also I'm trying to get away from Luke List and not overplay him, because I got a feeling Luke List might show up at a major this year.
He has the potential to, and he's been talked about it for a while now. To where at some point I feel like enough people know enough, like enough experts have been saying it, and they know enough that I feel like they see something that maybe the rest of us can't see, but we just know as golf fans we can feel that it's going to happen too.
Yeah, when all of a sudden smart people start saying your gut instinct out loud, you're like, wait a minute, that was me. Yeah,
I couldn't tell you why. I couldn't tell you why, but that was
exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, I totally knew Trayvon Walker was going first in the draft. Oh yeah, had it, nailed it. Yeah, of course you did, Skippy.
So before we get off here, quickly, I'm gonna give you my 6-man DraftKings lineup here. That leaves me with $300 left over, and it would just be a GPP lineup for anyone who's keeping score out there. But I think I like this. I think I'm gonna run this out there. I think I'm gonna run out Corey Connors, Adam Long, Nate Lashley, Tony Finau, Tyler Duncan, and Brian Harmon. That's what I think I'm gonna roll with. I'm gonna see how it goes. I mean, the fact of the matter is, in my eyes, I got two guys that literally the number one, number two guys that ranked out in my model. So I'm going with my model to an extent, but then I also have the two higher price guys in Corey Connors and Finau that have a good odds on shot to win. And then I got some exposure to some lower priced flyers in Lashley and Duncan. That look, if they make the cut and the other guys make the cut like they're supposed to, then I think I'm in a good position.
I'm thinking about some amalgamation of I like your idea of Tony trying to get Tony and Corey on the card and drop.
Yeah, you don't have to this week by any means, but it's possible.
No, but it's a fun week to do it because it's not exactly conventional and it's not a conventional week. So why not have fun a little bit? And so I'd probably go with Tony and Corey as well. That's kind of my top two there. And that frees me up to play with Aaron Rye, who I love down there at high 7,900. And then I just skip all the way down to our friends, Marty, Nate, and Doc. And I don't mind putting Nate in my lineup, even though I've got to bet against him because I can still have one of my guys to finish higher than the other.
Exactly.
And the reason I want you to have 12 beers is so I can drink 6 of them as well when we do meet up. So
that seems perfectly fair.
It's Studs and Duds at TPC Potomac this week for Divots and Pivots. Studs and Duds. That
wasn't really planned that way, but that's how we fell into it. So I'm fine rolling with it.
Anytime I can fall ass backwards into a pile of studs, I'm good with it. Shouts as always to the folks at Fantasy National for letting us peek under the hood and see how the magic happens. Thank you once again to my friends at Belly Up for allowing me to be your guest and grace the airways, and especially as always our friends at Tiki Live. Shouts. It's part of your work and watch Wednesday routine.
Yes, work and watch Wednesdays. That's what we're rolling with. So catch us every Wednesday right here, just like this morning, 10 a.m. on Tiki Live. And yes, as Bud alluded to, we will have hopefully next week some answers on something special for the U.S. Open that we are planning. I don't want to get you all too excited yet. We want some more details, but we got some stuff we're working on right now. So stay tuned for that. Keep it.
We're not saying the party's at the Moon Tower. But just be on.
Just watch our tweets right here from the Twitter machine from Real Mr. Mallet and this Buds for you. Just keep an eye out. And Divots at Divots and Pivots, of course.
That's the one to really follow.
That's the one we need to get that one up. We broke 200 followers on that, but let's get that rising up there. And let's keep it going, guys. Check us out on YouTube, all your podcasting spots, Tiki Live, the Belly Up family of websites, Belly Up Sports, Belly Up Fantasy Sports. Check us all out. We're here for you. Love you all. Have a great day.